Can what I eat actually make a difference with my symptoms? Can it actually improve my well-being? I don't know about all of you, but I've tried some of these elimination diets that are supposed to help with my autoimmune symptoms, and they are really hard to stick to. I actually gave up on them twice. So let's take a journey with my guest, a chronic illness warrior and health coach, and see if we can figure out how to make this work for us. I'm Kelsey Harris, a chronic illness warrior and a psychotherapist in training. On Chronically Living and How to Make the Most of It, we're providing tangible ways to improve the well-being of spoonies. So get ready to make the most out of your life, even with that pesky chronic illness.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mandy Podlesny. It's not as scary as it looks, but it definitely is intimidating. I am from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and I am a low-carb ketogenic health coach that helps people lose weight, fix their relationship with food, and feel super confident, even naked.
Not only is Mandy a ketogenic health coach, but she's also a chronic illness warrior like the rest of us, which is actually how she got into this line of work.
That's why I do what I do now, because I definitely have had amazing results using pure therapeutic ketones and the ketogenic diet. But I keto and burrito, I've learned how to manage pretty much over the long adventure that I'm going to tell you that I went on. When I was 19, I was finishing school for the summer and started going to the gym with the boyfriend at the time. And I bent down to pick up one of my shoes to go to the gym, and it snapped. And I did it, and like all of a sudden it swelled up. So I went to the doctor. He said I tore my meniscus. Okay, cool. No big deal. You just go and get a surgery. And I never healed. So I bounced between the rheumatologist to the orthopedic surgeon. They were both blaming each other. And I really didn't have any answers. And that really honestly continued for probably about a year. And then after that year, I finally had the orthopedic surgeon was like, okay, I'll do an exploratory surgery on your knee just to see what happened. And we'll just check it out just to give you some peace of mind. And ultimately, the day after I had that second surgery, my entire body swelled up. So it was my right knee. And then it just turned into a whole autoimmune inflammatory disease. I was misdiagnosed for about 12 years, bouncing between doctors and trying to figure out what was wrong, taking medications, taking supplements, trying diets, down the Google rabbit hole. I'm sure everybody can kind of relate. Doctors would tell me I'm crazy, or like, you're just going to have to deal with it. If I don't go on these crazy aggressive drugs, I'm never going to be able to walk. And it was a lot. And then like, of course, we deal with that component, but then I was dealing with I'm trying to be a 22, 25, 28-year-old.
This is when Mandy began experimenting with food and diet. And like probably most of us who have tried to make these dietary changes because we've heard it helps with our illnesses, she struggled.
You know, just being in normal life, not saying that you need to go and party all the time, but like, that's what you do. Go have cocktail friends or dinners. But then meanwhile, I'm trying to date and then not drink because it doesn't really do anything. So then you have to have these awkward conversations with people, or am I on this weird diet, or just, I don't know. It was a cycle on and off for so long. And I played with my diet for a really long time. And then at one point I would go up in weight and down in weight. And then I would think like, oh, well, my body can only handle kale and chicken. But then I would get frustrated because I wouldn't see results. So then I would like go drink a whole bunch and eat pizza. And it was just a very bad cycle of just over and over again that wasn't really producing any results. And then finally I went home to see my dad. I could barely even like pick up my bag. My eyes were really sunken in. I have this picture of me that weekend. I looked terrible and my body was just atrophied. And I started to actually walk on my toes. And I sat down and my dad was like, you look like literally. And I was like, don't, let's all not hate on my dad. He was doing the right thing and, you know, just very concerned about me. So we had a really long talk in the car. I was sobbing. I had a breakdown. And finally he was just like, okay, you need to do whatever it is you need to do to like get yourself better. And I found a doctor like a couple weeks later that diagnosed me with ankylosing spondylitis. And I had started to go on some IV medication, biologics. And I really felt awesome. And that started like kind of just the journey of using the biologics. But then I also had to have my knees replaced, and I did 5 surgeries in 2 years. So yeah, it was a lot. And then after that, while I was recovering from all of my surgeries, I found the power of drinking pure therapeutic ketones, which led me to doing the ketogenic diet, which led me to now where I'm at now and really healing and whatnot. And
okay, now before we lose you, because you've probably heard people say, well, diet's a cure. Just listen to what Mandy has to say next, because remember, on this podcast, we're not looking for cures.
Listen, I still struggle. There's days like even today, I was just like, oh, my body is just not cooperating. I think diet and, nutrition and mindset and other lifestyle factors can definitely significantly give you energy and hope again. Is that a miracle cure for everything? I'm still hoping that there's one out there, but I am significantly way better than what I used to, because I couldn't keep my eyes open and I had all these surgeries, and now I'm pretty functioning for the most part. So that's my story.
So what I'm hearing is that by changing her diet, Mandy was able to improve her quality of life.
Yeah, it definitely improved. So I drank pure therapeutic ketones, which if no one's familiar with an anti-inflammatory diet, essentially that's what ketogenic diet is. It's very, very anti-inflammatory. And then having ketones in your system were actually designed to go into a state of ketosis, which is very healing. Harvard actually did a study on why being in a state of ketosis actually is anti-inflammatory. It's because it blocks the inflammasome markers. Now, again, do I still have inflammation? Do I still struggle? But yes, but I am not significantly inflamed to a point where I couldn't walk and needed assistance to the bathroom. I work 12-hour days sometimes. I have energy. I go to the gym. I move. I have a quality of life now that I didn't have before. So now I educate on that aspect of it. But I just want to say I am not a miracle cured. You know what I mean? Like, it's just definitely gives you a quality of life, improving that. But you can't just take pure therapeutic ketones or some sort of supplement and expect that to be the game changer. And then you can't really expect to like completely revolutionize your diet and then expect that to be the answer either. Both are helpful, but you have to have an overall lifestyle that works for you.
Okay, so I know people who have been on this ketogenic diet and love it, but what exactly is the ketogenic diet? What does it entail?
Mm-hmm. So I simply put it, everyone comes to me for weight loss, but most people have underlying autoimmune stuff as well. So I'm glad that we're talking about this from an autoimmune perspective, because everyone's like, how much weight did you lose? I'm like, I didn't really do it for that. But so basically you either burn carbs or fat, right, for fuel. Most people burn all the sugar because we just consume so much sugar, and your body actually never has an opportunity to get into that therapeutic state of ketosis, because you could get watermelon in the middle of winter, you could eat Sour Patch Kids, you can have a slice of pizza. So getting into that state of ketosis where you are burning your body fat for fuel is actually pretty difficult, especially for people with autoimmune challenges. I was doing the ketogenic diet on its own without supplementing with drinking ketones, and it took me 6 to 8 weeks to actually produce enough ketones to like get into that therapeutic state. So long story short, when you eat a lot of sugar, you sugar burn, and that burns quickly. When you're in a ketogenic state, it actually slow burns, which gives you energy and focus and is therapeutic. So you kind of want to go through both, but optimally, I perform personally better when I significantly reduce my carbohydrate and sugar intake from a cognitive perspective, as well as just an anti-inflammatory perspective. So just being in that ketogenic state is just very therapeutic. But the problem with doing it is that you have to not eat pizza or have cocktails or eat Sour Patch Kids on occasion. So that's why I supplement with them as well. So it's definitely healing and definitely awesome and whatnot. But I say, do you care more about ketosis, or do you care about actually just having an overall quality of life? So I don't like to say that I do simply only the keto diet. I don't like to label things, because there's a million and one ways to diet and change your lifestyle. So I work with people on how to do something that fits for them.
Okay. Yeah. So tell us a bit more about that. How would you tailor it to individuals?
I would really just talk about like their lifestyle first. Like if they're in a whole state of like all day, every day, they're drinking Diet Cokes and, and eating burritos. We're not going to go, okay, well, starting tomorrow, congratulations, you're going to go from hundreds of grams of carbs a day to no carbs a day, like that's just going to like shock your system and freak out. So we really just do a long intake talk about like, hey, what's your lifestyle like? What are you struggling with? Where's your mindset? I actually teach a lot more of mindset and mental perspective than I do the diet, because the diet's very simple. Eat a meat and a veggie and cook it in a healthy fat. And then there's all this perspective of like, oh, I have to eat high fat and a lot of cheese and a lot of dairy and a lot of bacon and a lot of mayo. No, you don't. That's not what it is. It's a very common misconception, but you're just eating clean, essentially eating, pick a protein and a veggie, a green leafy veggie, a non-starchy veggie, and cook it in a healthy fat. And that's actually the keto diet as well as anti-inflammatory.
I have to say, I was not expecting mindset to come up in this conversation. But upon thinking about it, going on any diet for any reason does require a mindset shift, because it's never how we're used to eating anyway, and our minds can tell us all kinds of crazy things. It's what I like to call radio chatter in the background.
So people come to me and they're like, well, I need a meal plan. And I just know that the meal plan is for sure going to give me the results. And I'm like, there's 100,000 free meal plans on the internet. Why aren't you doing those? And then they're like, wait, what? So I kind of pattern interrupt them a little bit, because I start to ask questions. Okay, do you really think that you need a meal plan, or why aren't you doing the meal plan? And then the story of, well, I used to do it, and then in the past, and blah, blah, we go back to like our past. So what I do is help them forgive their past, kind of observe and talk about their behaviors from the past, and really heal all that, forgive all of that, and then get them really, really excited that they can recreate their brand new future, whatever that looks like for them. Because I mean, how many times do we like, oh, well, how did I get here? Because even for me, I'm like, well, maybe if I wouldn't have had a zillion cocktails when I was 25 partying with my friends, I wouldn't have had to have the aggressive surgeries and everything. And it's like, okay, well, I could look at it from that perspective, or I can look at it from a perspective of, okay, I forgive myself for all of that. But guess what? I now can recreate or rewrite a brand new story of how I went through those surgeries and how I have that experience and really help other people, and how I ultimately changed my life. You have two perspectives to look at it: in the past or get excited for the future. So that's what we talk about, to set that up first. And then it makes doing the actual diet and moving and the lifestyle stuff a lot easier once we go through the stuff.
I've done some research on all these different diets when I've tried, and of course failed, to do dietary changes in the past. Keto, paleo, all of those. And what I saw in the research was that the evidence was very mixed. Sometimes they work better for people with certain conditions than others. Sometimes they don't work at all, and really depends on the study. And I brought this up to Mandy to find out what she's seen through her work with actual clients.
Wild that you're actually talking about this, because two things. One, I fully support anybody figuring out what works best for them, because we're all different cells at the end of the day, right? And different gut microbiomes. And that's also what I teach and talk, because everyone's like, well, Sarah's losing so much more weight. And I'm like, listen, Sarah and you are completely different organisms fundamentally. So what works for Sarah is not going to work for maybe you. So do I think that paleo and keto and all these other diets that you could anti-inflammatory, food map, all those things, gut gaps or whatever, I mean, I've researched them all and I've done them all, but I can honestly say, if I look back, I haven't done them all to be consistent over a very long period of time. What I've just found for myself is like eating a diet of a meat, a veggie, and healthy fat as clean as possible. And then that actually is anti-inflammatory for me specifically. But from a scientific perspective, I think that if it's more of like a seek and you shall find, you could seek things that are great for vegans. Veganism works great for some people. You don't know until you know for you, right? And then I actually just started, I did 30 days of carnivore diet, only meat, which I was like, this is weird. Like, yeah, because I'm certified in keto and paleo. So now I'm fascinated with, I just wanted to on a whim. And I always say, hey, if something comes up for me 3 times in a week, I know I need to pay attention, right? So carnivore came up 3 times, and I've heard it loosely on occasion. And I was like, okay, I don't know. I mean, I love me some ribeyes and beef, like for sure. But like, what about vegetables? That's just weird. I just lost concept over the years and years and years and certifications that I went through. But I was like, let's just play with this for a minute. And I ultimately really did feel amazing. I did it for 7 days. I said I would commit for 7 days. First 2 days, I was like, this is gross. Like, no way. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm not eating ribeyes and everything. The third day, I was like, okay, there might be something here. By 7 days, I was like, oh my God, I feel really good. So I'm actually exploring and learning and going to go through a certification. It's like a couple days just to see what, because I can't articulate why vegetables at this present moment would be bad for you, except the fact what I quickly read was they have protective thing. I don't know. We'll have to get back to the biology of that. But I actually interviewed Dr. Sean Baker, and I was talking to him about why it was working for me from an anti-inflammatory perspective, from an elimination diet perspective, and then also to food control, was we have cravings and stuff like that. The biggest thing that I found was, one, it was so anti-inflammatory for me. I felt so good. I reduced my medications down by half in that month, and I felt really, really good. And then what I also noticed too, the longer I was on it, I wasn't craving, like, you know how we have just naturally have cravings for, I'm feeling in the mood for blah, blah, blah. I feel like I was not in the mood or had a craving for anything. It was like my brain went from, okay, we eat for this way, to I only eat for fuel now. And that's just, I felt great. So can I articulate the science behind why? Not yet. So stay tuned for part 2, I guess. But from what Dr. Sean Baker was saying was that because you're eating just meat and all of that, one, it gives your body a chance to be able to test certain foods. So from an elimination diet, I found out that I cannot eat chicken. I am significantly allergic to chicken. I had chicken wings and instant nasal. Then I was retesting certain things like cheese, I cannot have. I was very nasally again. And then my body just inflamed when I would like reintroduce foods. So it's very awesome opportunity from an elimination perspective to really be able to see your triggers right away versus having to wait a while. And then 2, he said that because the meats that you're eating have such micro and macronutrients, that you're getting everything that you need by eating such a high protein, that the craving centers in your brain just start to shut off. So you don't even think about food. You don't really, just shuts everything off because you're basically nutriently sufficient. So that was mind blowing for me. I interviewed him for my podcast. So I get all of that, but I still feel good. And I still eat keto-ish mostly. Everybody is so custom. And if you would have told me 4 months ago, if you eat a carnivore diet, it's going to help you, I'd be like, you're crazy. I need vegetables. And now I'm exploring in that too.
It sounds like it's really about finding what works for you and then tailoring the diet to yourself as an individual. This makes sense, since pretty much every aspect of health and ultimately your life, or should be, about you as an individual. We are not cookie cutters of each other.
Like I said, I'm still trying to learn and understand it. And I have years and years and years of nutrition experience. So I'm mind blown that it worked for me personally. But is it something that's sustainable? I don't know. Being on an aggressive diet and never having anything ever again, I also don't know. I don't want to have anybody ever, or myself even, re-trigger those food relationship issues where you're bouncing back and forth between like horrible food and clean food. So I eat, and what I teach and how I eat also is 90% fuel, 10% fun, and really, really pay attention, because sometimes that 10% can go away a lot when you're not paying attention. You know what I mean? Cheat meals versus cheat days, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because I was thinking about that too. Is like, I try to eat pretty healthy, but it's really hard to cut everything out, right? Oh, you shouldn't eat no sugar. It's like, what? But sometimes I want some sugar, you know?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I have cookies downstairs, guys. I'm not a zealot. That's what also too, people are like, well, teach me about ketosis and how it works and blah, blah, blah. Do you care about actually ketosis, or do you care about changing your old patterns, reestablishing new ones, and changing your whole lifestyle? Because I'm going to Las Vegas this week. I don't care how the pilot operates the plane. I do my job getting on the plane and hoping that I get there, right? But I don't go in the cockpit and be like, hey guys, what does that lever do? I don't care. Just get me there. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I tell people, do you care about how it all works, or do you care about actually doing it so it does work?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So if someone's listening, they're nervous about making these dietary changes, what you're saying is not as scary as it might sound.
Right. It's not. You have to do something, because we can't be living on, especially for autoimmune disease and chronic ill people and chronically fatigued and all of that. If anything, like, our sole job should be paying attention to food and our lifestyle and how we do things, because if we're not well, how do we expect to serve other people, right? So self-care is a big one. Paying attention to your nutrition is a big one. Like I said, I eat cookies on occasion. Is that great for my inflammation? Nope. I definitely feel it. But my friend sends me cookies. I'm not going to be like, oh, sorry, I can never have a cookie and not enjoy them. You know what I mean? So I think it's just finding this balance of what works best for you at the end of the day. And then really just paying attention to that and honoring that. Because if you don't, at the end of the day, you don't get a do-over. If I have to have another knee replacement at like soon-ish, you only get a certain amount, right? And then after that, in my mind, what drives me is I have to protect my body and my legs, because if I don't, I have to have my legs amputated because you only have a certain amount of knee replacements. So
yeah,
you have to just kind of have that leverage over yourself. Like, as scary as that sounds, one, you don't get a do-over in this life. This is it. And then two, what's that driving force for you to actually not eat the cookies, eat real well?
After the break, we'll be talking about how we'll know when the diet is actually working for us. Hey warriors, what if it was possible to get local, fresh groceries delivered right to your front door? You could take up deep sea yoga with all that free time. Well, Instacart gives you unlimited grocery delivery for one low monthly fee. This is definitely better than paying for delivery on all those other apps. Forget that one ingredient you needed to make that super healthy smoothie. Instacart can deliver to your front door in as little as an hour. You can shop multiple stores, getting all your favorites on a single order. Instacart even highlights deals so that you can save money. Get all the products you love, hand-selected by shoppers based on your preferences. They'll pick the freshest produce, and they'll keep your eggs safe too. Find everything you usually buy and get smart suggestions on new items. To get free delivery on your first order over $35, follow the link in the show notes to let Instacart know that we sent you and help support the show. With Instacart, you'll never step foot in a grocery store again. Okay, so how long should we be trying one of these diets before deciding if it's actually working for us? I've heard you do have to do it for like 20 days or 30 days, whatever random number seems to have worked for someone else. And that never seems to be consistent.
First and foremost, establish what a difference would be. You know what I mean? Like, are you trying to lose weight? Are you trying to reduce your inflammation? Because all diets work. It's the one that you'll do is the one that will work for a long period of time. So, and that's why I always make the funny, like, I know it's the tagline, but like keto and burrito, like you can find a balance that works for you. But if you're going to do like an actual keto diet and you're not going to supplement with pure therapeutic ketones, and actually do the diet, I'd say at least 10 to 12 weeks, because it personally took me 6-7 weeks to actually get into a nutritional ketosis, meaning my body was actually producing its own ketones, because autoimmune people, chronically ill people for sure, have a harder time getting into that therapeutic state just because of our metabolisms and how we function overall. So to give it a fair shot, I would say 10 to 12 weeks, and then keep testing your ketones to see if you're actually in a higher therapeutic state of ketosis, which we can talk about millimolars and all of that fun stuff and testing and all of that, or you can do it the easy way and text me and I'll talk to you about pure therapeutic ketones, and you can have both.
So I tried paleo diet in the past, and I only did it for 2 weeks because I couldn't do it any longer. I was so hangry and in the worst mood of all time, which, when you have a chronic illness and may also be struggling with some mental health too, is really not a good time. How do we manage mood changes that accompany elimination diets?
This is where the mindset step comes in, because it's like, you can't have this expectation. Well, Kim Kardashian lost 80 pounds on the keto diet and and then start on Monday, right? Yeah, it's cool to see that, where you see it on Good Morning America or whatever, the new fad diet thing. But go and do your due diligence and really understand about adapting, and like, regardless of what diet you're doing, right? There's going to always be a transition period, because you are going from like a poor diet to a clean one. So anytime that happens, there's going to be a detox period. And then also, we're so mentally and physically addicted to sugar because we just eat way more than what our bodies are designed. So having that mental perspective of, okay, this is actually not really my thoughts. Like, I don't really need to go drive to the gas station and buy Sour Patch Kids right now. I know I'm crazy because I'm detoxing, not because I actually need them. So having that perspective is super important as well. And then two, what people don't realize is that when you start to eat clean, your body's like, oh my God, I like this. This just feels good. But the hangry stuff happens from a mental perspective, but also probably you weren't eating enough fat or protein. So that usually signifies to me that that's an issue. But also what people don't understand is that there's a diuretic effect. So you're peeing a lot more and then not replacing your minerals that you're peeing out with electrolytes. And 99% of problems from an emotional standpoint, nervous system, to chemically and mentally issues, low energy and stuff like that can be solved with a quality electrolyte. And I'm not talking about a sports drink. I'm talking about a good quality electrolyte that you can get on Amazon, or I have a couple brands I work with, but those are really good ways to prevent those detox symptoms from happening as well. So protein and electrolytes always solve the issue.
Okay, good to know. The next part of our conversation about doing this in a cost-effective manner is available to Patreon subscribers. Remember that being a patron of the show, you're helping support us so that I can continue to bring it to you. For now, let's continue on with the conversation with Mandy.
Yep.
I'm sure you've run into this too. A lot of people with chronic illness are just told, this is your life now. You are going to be sick forever. And you just have to live with all these symptoms. I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that.
Oh, I've been told that a million times. I've been told that tequila and cupcakes have no bearing on my inflammation, which if I eat tequila and cupcakes, I will for sure feel some sort of flare the next day or a couple of days later. It's not in your head. And ultimately find yourself, listen, if you have to fire every doctor and then go to the next town, keep doing it. The only difference between me and someone else is that I just don't give up. And I'm not 100%. Like I said earlier, I was definitely not I was in a little flary from this weekend, and I woke up this morning and I was just like, ugh, and I was super tired. I fell asleep while I was doing a meditation. I'm not 100%, right? But my quality of life is so much better because I have a good doctor that works with me that I've had to fire dozens of them to get to that point, right? And if somebody treats you that way, have the perspective that that doctor works for you, not the other way around. And know it really does take a lot of guts to have that perspective. But after you're told you're crazy so many times, you have to start to build your skin, and you have to start, you're not your diagnosis, one, and two, find a team of people that will help you, whether that's a nutritionist or a mindset coach or all of those things, and a doctor. Because I'm good with the nutrition part, but I have a personal trainer that helps me with my physical body. I have my own good mindset stuff, but I have a good doctor that I can go for traditional medicine and stuff like that as well. And then I pray and I just truly just hope for the best. And, I just have this perspective of you only get one life. So I'm not going to let somebody tell me that I'm crazy or anything, because that's furthest from the truth, and just own the fact that you're not.
Coping, which includes taking control of the aspects of your life that you can, like diet, is strongly linked to well-being in people with chronic illness. We may not be able to control if we get sick, but we can control our lifestyle when we are sick.
If you are in a victim mode, instead of saying, this is happening to me, do I wish that I had a different body? For sure. Do I sob sometimes when I'm walking up the stairs? Even now, sometimes. It's just part of having what we have, and whatever that autoimmune issue is, it's just sucks. Point blank. I don't know how to explain it. However, I have this mental perspective that, okay, yes, this does suck, but how can I learn from this? How can I improve? Did I eat really good nutrition this week? No. Well, then that's probably why you're flaring. Am I eating those cookies? That's probably why I'm flaring a little bit today. I have a responsibility. That's not my disease. That was Mandy fueling the disease, not healing it. You know what I mean? So you could take the victim path, roll over and say, all right, whatever, I guess this is my life now. Or you can control 5 things. This is what I teach. Control your nutrition, control your mindset, your self-care, control your hydration, control your sleep, and control your movement. Those are 5 things that you can always, always, always work on. And if you are not 10 out of 10 on all of those, then that's where your work needs to improve. We can't control when we flare, but we can control the intensity and the frequency by controlling those 5 things.
Are you ready for our lightning round questions?
Oh, yeah.
What are the top 5 songs that describe your life?
Oh Lord. Okay. This is what I came for. I don't know. I love that Rihanna song. Okay. This is going to sound really crazy, but I am kind of like, I truly believe I was a rapper in a past life. So my pump up song is Bone Thugs and Harmony, Notorious Thugs. I don't know. That song gets me really pumped up. It has nothing to do with my life. It just really just is something I listen to every day. Lady Gaga, Applause, just because I like to educate, and not because I need the applause, but you know, you have your audience, and that's a fun song about that. Dave Matthews Band 41. And then it might be another Dave Matthews Band song.
Ooh.
But I can't remember what it's called. And that is very poor considering I have Dave Matthews tattooed on my back. Typical Situation is a good one. And then The Stone's a good one. So there's are mine.
Awesome. What's one thing you can't go a day without doing?
Snuggling on my dogs.
Oh, yeah.
I take at least 5 minutes, like present with them, like not on the phone. Like that's like one thing they bring me so much like joy. And that's kind of going back to, well, when we're in a crappy mood or whatever, if I actively go and seek joy, like it doesn't matter if you can't even move your arm. Listen, I know, I get it. I've been in bed and have had to have my roommates physically take me to the bathroom. But if you start to actively find joy in the silliest things will also start to shift. So yeah, definitely snuggle my little pepperonis.
What's one thing you plan on doing in your life that you haven't yet?
God, I'm going to say this, and now I have to, because you're the second person a podcast, so you all have to hold me accountable, but I want to do a bikini competition. It scares me to death. I'm not physically able to do it right at this moment. I've committed to Nick Anastasio, which was one of my heroes. He actually has no legs, one arm, and he has a really powerful story, so go look him up. Like, he's amazing. But I promised him that I would do a fitness competition because he did one. So I have to do it.
Awesome.
Just because I said I would.
That's awesome.
It's super scary, but I'm going to do it.
You know, and sometimes the scary things are the best ones to do, right?
All the things that I said, no, I'll never do that. For some reason, I have done it and have been the biggest shifts in my life. And then, yeah, just scary things too, are just like, okay, like, why was I so scared? Why did I put it off for so long?
Exactly. Describe your perfect day.
Wake up, meditate, snuggle with the puppies for a little bit, have a nice cup of coffee, go out to my someday balcony overlooking the ocean, journal, and then spend the day with the someday dude that will grace my life eventually, and just be cute. And yeah, I mean, I'm very simple. I love the ocean, I love my dogs, and that's what I want for my whole life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And how do you inspire your clients to make the most of their lives?
A mentor of mine said this, and it hit me so hard because it truly is truth. Like, I do things for me, for you, for us. Meaning, I educate myself and I try to lead my best life in terms of developing my self-development and mindset and learn things and grow myself. But I do it for my clients, but I do it for me first, because you have to lead yourself. So I lead myself, and then hopefully my leading and crying and struggles and everything are examples for other people, so that they do it for themselves. And then we do it for us, meaning us as in like the globe. We do it for the ripple effect that we create, because it's so easy for us to look at, oh, well, I'm just trying to lose weight and blah, blah, blah. But you losing weight or not losing weight, or you perpetuating your chronic illness and avoiding it like I did for so long, that not only impacts you, but it impacts everyone in your life, whether you have kids or not. You're still having a ripple effect, positive or negative. So I take my ripple effect very seriously, and I do what I need to do to make myself better, but for my other people, and then for the rest of the world, so the world improves. So it's very selfish of you for not taking care of yourself, first.
Yeah. Leading by example is really healthy.
I mean, I'd be so out of alignment, and I would be attracting not the right people that, and I just think, am I perfect? No. Have I gained weight doing this? Yeah. Have I completely, not followed my own rules on occasion? Yeah. But guess what? Instead of hiding and feeling like I'm a fraud, I call it out and I say, hey, guess what? let's talk about the elephant in the room. I had to go on high doses of prednisone and my face was super fat. It wasn't prednisone's fault. It was Mandy for eating way too much pizza while on prednisone. And instead of hiding and being embarrassed, I was just like, okay, this happens to everybody, even the health coach. So you just have to recalibrate. And then I took everybody on the recalibration journey. And then that inspired so many other people because they came out of the woodwork and they're like, oh my God, we just thought like, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I will never not like, I'll never be that person that like takes my picture of like my food and like hides the bread. If the bread's there, I'm eating it and I'm showing you. But it's being honest with yourself.
Thank you. Where can we find you and follow you?
Awesome. So you can head to my website, mandyp.com, or you can follow me on Instagram at moremandyp, or you can join my keto club, ketoclubwithmandy.com. It will take you right to the link to join the group. So
amazing.
That's where you can find me.
Thank you so much for coming on today. This has been great.
I know, this was so awesome. Thank you so much. And thanks so much for what you do just with chronic illness and stuff. It's definitely not my 100% focus, but I relate and I have such a heart and truly, truly understand what people go through. And if anybody ever needs a friend, that's one thing we didn't talk about. Just truly find people to support you. And because I didn't have that. So that's my thing. Like, don't ever struggle alone. Just talk about it. So
absolutely.
Thank you for the work that you do and the conversations that you're having. That's very powerful and really awesome.
Thanks. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
I told Mandy after our interview that I was actually inspired to look at trying one of these diets again. I probably didn't give it long enough the first time, or maybe I was just on the wrong one. And I'm not saying that it will necessarily work for me. I also struggle because I like bread and I have a sugar tooth. But I also like what she said about not having to be 100% on it 100% of the time. So that's what I noticed for me during and after the conversation. What did you notice for yourself while you listened? What are you noticing now? Mandy and I would love it if you could tag us on Instagram with your takeaways from this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts and give me a rating and a review if you're on iTunes. Until next week, keep making the most of it. Special thanks to Nicole Skira for the original music and to Charity Williams for the original artwork.